URC is back after the excitement of the Six Nations. Don't expect to see many of those players that are involved in the Six Nations running around this weekend. There are one or two, but they're very rare on the ground. Leinster versus Stormers is obviously, top of the table clash, grabbing the headlines, but there are a lot of important fixtures everywhere you look. We've got 9 points between 6th place Bulls and 10th place Cardiff, so it's really tight for those final playoff spots. And some teams' playoff hopes will probably be dashed this weekend. So let's start with the Friday games. We've got Zebre Palmer versus Cardiff. It's 16th versus 10th. No wins for Zebre this season. It's the last home game of the URC season as well. So the last chance for them to get that coveted win. Might be able to do it against a Cardiff team who aren't in the best of form. Cardiff have won only 2 of their last 7, but it is a chance for them to reignite their challenge for the final 8. And whether they can do that or not, they're still in a battle for the Welsh Shield as well, with some of the other Welsh teams coming into some form at the end of the season. And that has a coveted Heineken Cup spot with it as well. Priestland and Botham are both back in, plus Mason Grady is back from Welsh duty, and he's actually able to play, one of the rare ones that I spoke about. Next, then on Friday, we also have Leinster versus Stormers, so it's first versus second. Huge clash. Leinster unbeaten for the entire season so far. None of the Six Nations players, but it's still a decent team that they have there, led by Rhys Ruddock. Harry Byrne continues at 10 for them, and Frawley is in at 12. For the Stormers then, they've won 5 of the last 7. They're on a 3-game winning streak. They've got their Springboks back as well, so you've got Kitstoff and Mulherba in a very strong front row for them. Ori and Willemse are also in the starting lineup. It's a good chance for them to inflict that first defeat of the season on Leinster, and a win really would ease the threat from Ulster coming up behind them. But also, the Stormers, all the South African teams actually have Currie Cup going on at the moment. So it's a really, exciting and busy time for South African club rugby. Next, then we have into the Saturday games, Benetton versus the Lions. This is 9th versus 11th. So 2 teams just on the, wrong side of that cutoff line for the playoffs. Both looking for a win to boost their chances. Benetton have won 4 of the last 7. They'll want to get the push back on track because they were, flying high earlier in the season, have kind of dropped off recently. The Lions, though, they've 2 from the last 7, but they've actually won their last 2 games, and they still have a chance to make the playoffs. So, yeah, really important one between them. And this could be one where, the loser is looking for results to go their way to have any chance at all to make the playoffs. Next time we have Ospreys versus Dragons. This is 13th versus 15th. Ospreys have won 3 of their last 7. They lost the last 2. Stephen Myler, for them, he's going to retire at the end of the season, so I'm sure he's going to want to finish the season well. Jack Morgan and Scott Baldwin both actually have to have surgery after picking up injuries on Welsh duty. For the Dragons, then, they've lost their last 7. They've also, like a lot of contract negotiations going on in Wales at the moment, they've offered 12 players new deals. They're hopeful of signing most of those players back on for next season. Neither of these teams really in with a chance for the playoffs, you would say. It really would be an outside chance for Ospreys. Mathematically, it's still possible, but don't think they're going to do it. But they still, especially Ospreys, could win the Welsh Shield and hunt Cardiff down. Next, then we have Connacht versus Edinburgh. This is 8th versus 12th. Connacht have won 5 of the last 7. They're on a 4-game winning streak. They signed winger Santiago Cordero, Argentinian winger from Bordeaux, for next season. So a bit of exciting news there. They seem to love their outside backs in Connacht, but right now what they need is a win to protect that spot. They're the ones, as I said before, with the target on their back, and everybody's going to be gunning to take that position off them. Edinburgh, they've won just 1 of the last 7 games. They're on a 3-game losing streak, and their season really is in danger of fizzling out unless they can get something out of this. After that, then we have Scarlets versus Sharks. So this is 14th versus 7th. Scarlets have won 4 of the last 7. They did lose last time out, though, against Munster. Who's it? Jonathan Wright is out for the rest of the season with calf and Achilles injuries. This another team fighting for that Welsh Shield. So more about kind of next season than this season for them at this stage. The Sharks are there. They've won the 3 of their last 7. They lost the last 2 though. And Werner Koch was talking about, how the box returning to the squad has been a big boost for them. They're going to look for an away win that would put them, in a great position to cement that spot in the top 8. They really have, come strong towards the end of the season. They were kind of down, not as where Scarlets are now, but kind of down in that kind of 11th, 12th region earlier on, and really have, finished strong, and they'll look to keep that going at the weekend. Next time we have Munster versus Glasgow. This is 5th versus 4th. Another big game at the top of the table. Munster have won 6 of the last 7. They're on a 5-game winning streak, and a win will put them in line for a home quarter-final because they would leapfrog Glasgow, who were just 2 points ahead of them in the table. Glasgow, they've also won 6 of the last 7, so 2 really informed teams here. It's going to be a big test of that Glasgow squad, who have been going well. If they can go to Munster and win, I think then that probably a home quarter-final is theirs for the taking. The final game of the round then is another big one. We've got Ulster versus the Bulls. This is 3rd versus 6th. Ulster have won 4 of the last 7. They've got 2 on the bounce. Nathan Doak has some speaking about, the Bulls being wounded and being very dangerous because of that. It's actually as well, I read somewhere, it's my brain is gone. Stockdale. I couldn't remember his name for a second. It's Stockdale's first game against South African sides in the URC because of obviously being injured. So he's going to want to show that he's coming back to some kind of form, especially seeing as he hasn't been involved with Ireland recently. The Bulls, though, they're won 2 of the last 7. They're on a 3-game losing streak. They're obviously up there with Ulster, kind of duking it out for those positions in the top 4, but not anymore. Down at 6th at the moment. But again, returning box could give them a bit of an edge in this one as they look to halt their slide. Okay, now let's have a look at the table. So got Leinster leading the way, 15 from 15. They're on 71 points. A win here would, guarantee that top spot. I don't think anyone imagines that they're not going to get it anyway, but still kind of mathematically possible for the Stormers to overtake them. Stormers then in 2nd with 59 points. I think for them, the win is all about, trying to keep that gap to Ulster down in 3rd. Ulster on 54 points. Glasgow then on 49 points in 4th. Munster 5th on 47. Munster and Glasgow, obviously the winner of that one is going to end the weekend in 4th spot. Bulls then in 6th with 43 points. Sharks 7th with 41. Connacht 8th with 39. Benetton just a point behind on 38 and 9th. Cardiff in 10th with 34. If they lose this weekend, then could be a bit of daylight opening up there, but they are playing Zebre, so expect them to keep the pressure on. 11th then is the Lions on 33, Edinburgh in 12th on 32. So those teams there really kind of outside chances of making the playoffs. They've got to pretty much win all of their remaining games. Ospreys down at 13th on 30 points, Scarlets 14th 29 points. Dragons adrift in 15th on 19 points. They'll just be looking to get a win, by the end of an extra win by the end of the season. Zebre then is 16th, who would absolutely, give anything for a win at this stage on 8 points at the bottom of the table. Okay, so that's it for now. I'm going to have some match reports over the weekend. Definitely the Leinster Stormers one, and then reports for any ones that I catch over the weekend as well. But I am also covering the Women's Six Nations, so we'll have content on that too, and we'll have our usual roundup review of the round of the URC early next week.